The first time I heard my own voice coming through that radio tower, I thought it was an old recording. Then it said my name. Jack, don't go upstairs. I froze because nobody knew I was there. The tower had been abandoned for almost 11 years. There was no electricity, no working radio, and according to my supervisor, there wasn't even supposed to be anyone inside the building. Then the radio crackled again. This time the voice sounded terrified. It was mine. Jack, if you're hearing this, you're already too late. My name is Jack Miller. 3 years ago, I worked maintenance jobs in remote areas. Radio towers, communication stations, electrical equipment, anything nobody else wanted to deal with. One November night, my supervisor Tom called me. He said an old communications tower outside a small mountain town had been triggering alarms. The tower had been shut down years ago. My job was simple. Drive there, inspect the equipment, find the problem, leave. I arrived around 11:40 p.m. The tower stood alone on top of a hill. No houses, no streetlights, just trees, fog, and a rusted metal tower disappearing into the darkness. I unlocked the service building. The moment I stepped inside, my flashlight flickered. Then I heard something. Static, coming from an old radio console. I walked over. The machine hadn't been connected to power in years, but one small red light was glowing. I reached toward it. The speaker suddenly crackled. Then I heard, "Jack?" I stopped breathing. It was my voice. I checked my radio. Nothing. I checked my phone. No signal. Then the speaker said, "Don't go upstairs." I stepped away from the console. For a few seconds, everything was silent. Then I heard footsteps above me. Slow, heavy. One step, then another. Someone was walking across the second floor. I grabbed my flashlight and climbed the stairs. The hallway was empty, but at the end of it was a door. It was slightly open. I pushed it. Inside was another room filled with old communication equipment, and on the wall was a maintenance calendar. I walked closer. The dates were from 11 years ago, but someone had been writing on it recently. I saw yesterday's date, and underneath it were 3 words. Jack arrives tonight. My stomach dropped. I immediately called Tom. This time my phone had 1 bar. He answered. I said, "Tom, someone knew I was coming." There was silence. Then Tom asked, "What did you hear?" I told him about the radio. He didn't answer. Instead, he said, "Jack, listen to me carefully." His voice became very serious. "Leave the building." I turned toward the stairs, and that's when I saw something. At the bottom of the staircase, someone was standing there, a man, completely still. I couldn't see his face. I whispered, "Tom, there's someone here." Tom replied, "Don't look at him." I froze. "How do you know?" Tom didn't answer. Then the radio behind me crackled. My own voice came through. "Jack, he's not the one you need to be afraid of." I slowly turned around. The man at the bottom of the stairs was gone. I ran. I didn't care about the equipment anymore. I sprinted through the hallway and reached the front door, but it wouldn't open. I pulled harder. Nothing. Then I heard footsteps behind me, running. I looked over my shoulder. Nobody. The radio crackled again. This time my voice was whispering, "Whatever you do, don't open the basement door." I looked down. There was a basement door beside me, and underneath it, light was shining. I had never noticed that door before. Then something knocked from the other side, 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. I stepped backward. My phone suddenly rang. It was Tom. I answered. He said, "Jack, I'm looking at the tower records." "What records?" His voice trembled. "That tower was never abandoned." I couldn't speak. Tom continued, It was shut down because 3 maintenance workers disappeared there. I looked at the basement door. Then he said the words I'll never forget. The last one disappeared 11 years ago. I looked at the calendar. Yesterday's date was still written there. Under it were the same 3 words. Jack arrives tonight. Then I noticed something underneath them. A 4th line had appeared. I hadn't seen it before. It said, Jack leaves tomorrow. The basement door slowly opened. I didn't wait to see what was inside. I kicked the front door until the lock broke and ran into the forest. I never went back. But 3 months later, Tom sent me one photograph. It was a picture of the abandoned radio tower, taken from outside, and standing in the 2nd floor window was me, wearing the same jacket I had been wearing that night. The problem? The photograph was taken 2 days after I escaped, and beneath the picture Tom had written, Jack, who was the man I saw leaving the tower? I've worked in remote places ever since, but I never work around old radio equipment anymore, because sometimes, late at night, my phone loses signal. And when it does, I hear static, then a voice, my voice, and it always says the same thing. Jack, don't go upstairs.